Now it's time to set up some shaders for the sphere and also for the lines and the primitives, but let's start with the sphere. I just want to make sure that Redshift performance will be nice, so I prefer not to use the VDB for now. What I can do is just use the sphere and do a switch. This is just temporary, so I just do the switch and set it to 1, and now I just need to move this to UV project. Now I have the sphere, the initial sphere, which is very low poly, with the UV mapping and the normals, and I use this for the shading. So let's dive into the camera and go into the material context, type Redshift material builder, name this the sphere, dive inside. We need to create a Redshift material. This can be the metal. Then we have another material that's the emission. Then we need the material blender, so we can blend the two materials together. What else do we need? We need a point attribute for the color. So let's say read CD. And here we say CD. What else? Let's see. Yeah, I need a texture, which we'll grab from the disk. Yeah, I think this is it for now. And in the output context, we go to the Redshift ROP. And what I like to do is to go to objects, delete this one, and say force objects, and I say RNDR underscore and this asterisk. That means that it would force render every node that has in the name RNDR underscore and something. And for our example, it will render just this node, even if we have those nodes enabled. This way I make sure that, you know, we don't crash the software or render something that we don't need. And also in this on this node, if I go to the render, we have the material path here. We can just go to the matte and say sphere. So right now we actually added the sphere material onto the sphere. And of course, I think we should start Redshift right now. So you can see we just have the sphere. Nothing else really matters right now for Redshift, and that's really nice. What I would like to do is to disable depth of field for now. And also go into the Redshift light dome and disable the background, because I just want to see how the sphere looks. And then I go inside the material again. Right now it looks the same because it doesn't really do anything, so Redshift automatically adds a plastic material, default plastic. Okay, so right now let's plug the first material onto the surface. I would use the standard aluminum shader. This looks really nice from the start. Then in the texture, I want to go into my HIP file. You will get of course the textures and everything. So inside the folder I have this roughness JPEG, because we're also in ACES, and this roughness is a linear image. I have to enable gamma override, so gamma is 1 for this image. Now I would also use a Redshift ramp. This is very similar to what we did until now with the color ramps and everything inside of Houdini nodes. I just put this just to have it. Maybe I need to control something later. And then if I go to this drop down, you can see all the parameters that I can use inside of the Redshift material. And right now I think I would use these textures as a roughness. So I think in order to work I need to refresh the render. And you can already see that because we have a UV map, the texture is already in place. Of course, what happens is that we have either roughness 0 or roughness 1, and also if I want to know what's happening exactly, is I can just plug the texture into the surface and then I just see the texture itself. Maybe I can just try and scale this down. So if I add 2 here, it actually will scale it down, so we have a lot more details, and I think this is fine for now. Then I go back to the original shader. Yeah, let's put something here just to have some small amount of roughness. maybe something like this, and also make this lower, so we just have a nice roughness over the surface, some nice details. I also think that this can be 3 actually. Then after adding the roughness, I would like to have a bump map. So the bump goes into overall bump input. And here also I would like to have a ramp. So we use the same texture input, and of course you see there's a lot of bump happening. So maybe we go with 0.1. So I think it already looks pretty nice. It's similar to some sci-fi panels or something. So let's organize this a bit. And then what I like to do is also add a Fresnel. If we want to see what this does, we can just plug it here. So it's like a gradient that's darker on the camera side of view and lighter on the far side. It's like a Z-depth actually. Maybe just use here IOR and just set this to 0. And I just plug here reflection weight. And now I can control the weight of the reflection with this Fresnel. And if I just put here maybe 10, it's more metallic. If I put here 5, it's less metallic. So I really like this one because I can control the metalness somehow. It's not 100% photorealistic, but it works. Also, sorry for this text here. I don't know what happened. It's a Redshift beta version, so maybe it's an error. Now what I want to do is have an emission. So let's set up the emission shader. This is also basic plastic right now, but I would like to put everything on 0. So we put diffuse and reflection to 0. Then we just have on the overall, we have the emission. Maybe we put like a color constant and select blue color from here. Then we go to emission color and the weight maybe 1 or 2. So you see now the entire sphere is being lit, but of course we don't want that. So this is the first material, we put it here into the base color, and this is the second one. So we add it into the layer color 1. These are like Photoshop layers. This is the first layer, this is the second one. And now we just plug it into the surface, and of course the emission is not visible because we can use this texture or I'd rather use another one that I created. Just copy this parameter and just use the emission one. It has just the edges. So lecture mask, say, and this goes into blend color. So right now you can see there's emission happening on the edges. So let's organize things a bit. This is material number 1, let's just give it a color, and this is number 2, the emission. So we can just read this easier the next time. Okay, and now what I would like to have less emission in the center and more emission to the edges. So I can create a Fresnel and do a Redshift color layer. And I would say this is the base color, and next the layer 1 color is the mask, and then I can multiply this. So blend color. Now I don't want to use index of refraction, now I can just tweak this. So you see now we have more reflections on the edge and less, more emission on the edge and less on the middle. I can just put this maybe to 10 or 8 or something. Yeah, so this is the mask. And now what I would like to do with this CD attribute, which is not available right now. We don't have the CD here. Remember, we use the switch node, but yeah, we can use it after we switch to the VDB. So we go back to the shader, and maybe we can use this CD also to drive the reflection weight and reflection color. So right now it's not available, but I will just add this ramp and also another ramp. So then we don't need this anymore. We just say here reflection weight, and then Here we have the reflection color. So now of course everything turns to black because we don't have the parameter, but we'll fix that in a minute. Yeah, and we can also add I think I added a coating over this, and in the coating I use the bump map as well. So it's not so shiny. Okay, so I think it looks really nice until now. Let's switch this to the VDB, and then we can see the color parameter as well. So I will stop the rendering for now, hit save just to make sure everything is alright. And now we switch this to 0 input. So if we have a look on the parameters, we have here CD, normal, position, so, and also UV. So CD and UV we really need. And for redshift especially, we need to go here and on the attributes. I found out that this works all the time. It automatically doesn't really work. So here I need to say extract the CD attribute, and maybe also say UV just to make sure that it is there. And then in the material, it will read the CD from here. So this one. So right now, if I go to the material palette and I hit render, it should load the VDB. And now I should also see what's happening here with the color. So let's just plug this. And you see here now we have the color. Of course, we have another ramp here where we can control it. So what I would like to do is to have, let's say this is the reflection weight. I would like to have this inverted and have no or almost no reflection where it's black when it's building up, but have full reflection when it's already built up. So let's not have this on 0, let's have it on maybe 0.1 or something and see how it looks. So see here it's almost no reflection, and then we have full reflections. Maybe we can tweak this so it has a bigger fall off. Of course, this is a bit different from the tutorial cover video. You will also have the source file, so you can have a look exactly how I added the nodes here. But right now I'm recreating this, so it's impossible to, to have the same effect. Yeah, so I think I can use the same ramp over here. So here in the reflection color, I would use some blue reflection, maybe not so saturated. So it transforms from dark to blue to reflected. Okay, so now let's prepare the primitives and the render lines, and after that we will tweak the lights.